Right, I am on my way to my second job and I'm really pleased with this job. So I was finished in Northampton at around about 11:15 and I went to the local supermarkets, parked up, looked for jobs. I was putting bids on that were much more realistic. I was avoiding anything going southwards towards London. I was avoiding very long trips, to sort of Scotland and south of England, well, sort of southwest. And I had about 6 bids put on, and eventually got a job after not so much waiting, going from Daventry, which is where I'm going now. That's half an hour's drive away from where I was. 17 miles to drive there. And I'm taking a small van job. I think it's one item up to Crewe. And it's basically 99 miles loaded, and I bid £80, basically 80 pence per mile, and I did get that job with a company that I've worked for before. So they may have given it to me because they recognised my name, but I don't know. And yeah, I'm on my way to the pickup now, and I should be finished around about 1:30. In the Crewe area where I was yesterday, and I'm reasonably hopeful that there'll be an opportunity to get a third job back towards the West Midlands. And then if I do that, I'll just try and do something locally around the area to finish off the day. But yeah, so I'm pleased with this. I'm on 140 now gross for the day with this second job, and I'm going to try and keep my mileage down today. I'll be interested to know actually how far is it going from the West Midlands to Northampton to sort of Crewe area back to the West Midlands. I wonder if that's going to be that shouldn't be too far. I'm going to guess about 200 miles maybe, that sort of figure. So I'll let you know how it all pans out later on today. Cheers. Just as I was getting comfortable back in this job, my plan sort of basically fell apart, to some extent at least. So I had a great plan that I would get myself to Crewe and offload between 1 and 1:30, and then I would be in a place to pick up a load going back towards Birmingham, and I thought I had plenty of time to do that, and maybe even one more job after that. So when I arrived at the location for my pickup in Daventry, there wasn't a lot of detail about what I was picking up. So I first of all made my way to the correct road, and then I went to the security office, which was the most obvious place for me to go to. They asked me for a reference number, and I gave them the one that was on the booking, but they didn't have any record of that. And I think in hindsight, the reference number that was on the booking was the one for the shipper, not for the load. So I then sent a message to the shipper asking for a reference number, and they gave me one reasonably quickly. And from that code I could work out I had to be on site 2 and I'd come to site 4. So I asked the security guard where site 2 was, and he gave me the directions. So I thought, that's great, I'm now on my way to the correct place, and then I've also got the correct reference, so it should be pretty easy. I drove down the road that he indicated, and there was no site to this place anywhere to be seen. I even asked a driver from the company who was parked on the side of the road where he thought site 2 was, and he gave me what he thought might be the answer, but he wasn't sure. So I went back the opposite side of the road from the security guard was the entrance for the staff to another building. It wasn't labelled up as a site number. And then I went and found a guy who had the branding on of the company. I asked him if he knew where Site 2 was. And he gave me some really clear instructions, which took me across the main road, around the corner, and then second site, there's Site 2 and 3 together. So I went off round to the site that he told me to. I definitely got the right gate. I rang the bell. The person who answered the bell didn't have a clue what I was talking about, but they agreed to let me in to have a look at the reference. They let me in, we had a chat, they had no idea. So at this point I had to call the shipper back and say, have you got any other details about what I'm taking, or who has ordered it from this site, or any other reference. And they had to contact their customer, and eventually I got a name of a employee for the company I was going to. So I thought, oh, well, I'll mention that company, that person's name. So when I was at the site that I was at the second time, they said to me, I'll go back to where you were, and it's the building I was at when I spoke to the second guy who took me to this building. So they were pretty sure that was the site 2. And then when I mentioned the name of the person, they were certain that was the right building for that person. So I checked with the shipper what he thought I was taking, and he described it as being a few like officey bits, like a lead and something else. And I had an impression it was like a small box. On the notes it said 1 package. So I got the impression that maybe I had to go to reception rather than to goods in or goods out. But the shipper didn't know. So on this occasion I went back to the building I'd just come from, went to the front of the building again, but this time rang the bell at the front and asked for the name of the person that I was given who put the order in. And they had no idea what I was talking about. The person who'd answered the buzzer but asked me to come round the back. It's the goods, it's the warehouse bit. So I did that. So I went round to the back and then found a guy, and when I showed him the reference number I'd been given, he knew what it was I was taking. This had taken like the best part of an hour to do all this. I arrived at 11:40. By the time I'd got to this person, it was 12:40. It was a combination of people telling me the wrong things and lack of information on the booking and lack of signage on site. So site 4 was really clearly labelled. All the other sites were not labelled at all clearly. So in the end, I got loaded up with a pallet fully loaded with boxes. I wouldn't call it a package at all, I would call it a pallet. A fully loaded pallet, quite high. It wouldn't have fitted into a small van, which is the other thing, which I haven't told the shipper yet. I've taken a photo of the load there. And luckily the shipper did tell us what you want to charge for waiting time. So I asked for £20 and I'm happy to get that. So that means that this job will, in the end, have given me £100, which hopefully, if I get a third job after this, I'll be finished around about 3:30, I think. So if I can get a third job, take me somewhere near the West Midlands, then I'll be happy. I'm on 160 at the moment, but it's been tiring. And the only thing I would finish off by saying is, it's a really good job that I'm an incredibly placid person, because despite the comings and goings and all the frustrations, I didn't get physically frustrated at all. I didn't start shouting at people, I didn't start getting short-tempered. I just got on with it, plodded along, trying to solve the problem. And I think it's my superpower, the ability to stand a lot of disappointment without getting frustrated, or at least visibly frustrated. I would say I was frustrated, but no one would have known if they'd seen me. Right, I'll let you know what happens later in my day of adventure. Just a quickie to let you know that when I put the pallet on, I measured the height of it because it looked oversized, and it came to just less than 1.5 meters high. So I don't believe that if I had a small van, this pallet would have gone on my van. Standard size pallets, UK pallets, and that high, 1.5 meters high. I don't think there's any small van that can take that. But luckily I've got an oversized van, so I was able to accommodate that. I don't know whether it was the shipper trying to get away with a cheaper price, or whether it was their customer trying to put a fast one over them, or maybe a bit of both. But at the end of the day, it's the driver that's to deal with the consequences of this shoddy work. So yeah, that's my little moan for this one. I'm now on the M6. At the moment it's flowing alright, but I'm sure at some point it will stop to a crawl, as is usually the case in the M6. Right, I'll let you know how it goes later on. Farewell. Okay, it's just gone 5 o'clock and I'm heading back down the M6 towards home. And if I don't find a job for tonight, then I'll be home by about 6:30. And I would have just done the 2 jobs today. When I got to Crewe, there was a couple of opportunities to bid on jobs, but I didn't get them. But there wasn't an awful lot. So a lot of the work's going out of Stockport. I was just over an hour away from there. I couldn't really get there in time. And Manchester had a few jobs. So this wasn't really working out for me. There was 3 other drivers very close to me who were active, looking for jobs. When I put a bid on of £50 to go from Crewe to Shrewsbury, I didn't get that. I was sort of 10 minutes away. I thought, it's not my night. So that's when I started heading home. So I'm going to do some stats for today, based on if I don't get another job. Before I give you stats, I'm just going to say I'm very tired at the moment. It is just gone 5 o'clock, and it's that sort of time of the day where I do crash. And I'm sort of craving a McDonald's burger or some chocolate, and I'm trying to resist. So, based on an average fuel price this week of 18.42 pence per mile, today I've driven 274 miles, 274, that's by the time I get home. I will have earned £160 from 2 CX jobs, 160. I will have worked for 12.25 hours, and I spent £50 and 47 pence on fuel. So I round it down to 50, which means that my net earnings today, after taking out fuel, was £110. So over the course of the 2 days I've worked, this week's average net fig earnings is £121. 121. That's over 2 days. So that would be what I earned on average over the 2 days. So I suppose it's about getting back into the swing of things. That isn't really enough for me to make this work. But I'm hoping that next week will be better. Okie dokie. Thank you very much for listening to my video. I hope that you are all being way more successful than I'm being. However you choose to find that word for yourselves. In terms of my success, it's very much been put on hold at the moment in terms of my life success, and we'll see how it goes in the next few months. I'm not just talking about CX income. Right, so I will bid you farewell and see you on Monday. Farewell, friends.